Okay, cool. We're back for another show. Welcome, everyone. We'll just wait another couple of seconds for people to come on, and I'll introduce it a little bit. But yeah, how are you guys? You excited to be on live?
Yeah, man, this is the first podcast we've done. It's funny that we've jumped on this one with you because this week we've had about 3 people ask us if we could go on a podcast. So you're the very
Really?
first. And yeah, it's a privilege and an honor to be here with you today.
No worries. Well, it's a pleasure for me to break the conscious podcast virginity. It's awesome. So I'm excited to talk to you guys now. We've got a few people watching. We're across a few different channels, guys. So I can kind of see comments and stuff, and we'll put them up. But the way that we're doing these podcasts now is that we're trying to make them roll a little bit interactively. So if people watching just want to drop in where they're from, and as we're going through the show, ask any questions, we'll answer them live. But I'm excited today because we're going to be talking about consciousness, and in terms of our show, Real Drug Talk, talking about addiction and recovery, and all that sort of stuff. It's really, see, I keep forgetting to flip the camera, but anyway, it's such a big topic because it's kind of at the buttery essence, I suppose, when people move out of addictive patterns and kind of get into recovery. It's what they're doing. They're trying to break the old patterns of themselves. And, meditation and all those sorts of things have been practices that have been suggested for people in recovery for so long. So I just found out, but we've got Rue and Rhyme with us, and they're rebranding what they do to It's Cool to Be Conscious, and I'll let them talk about it in a second. But I came across them on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and I just kind of got obsessed with their page, and I wish I was in Queensland because I'd definitely come down to the sessions that they hold, because I've been going a bit deeper into meditation myself lately, so I'm excited to have the chat. So did you guys want to tell us, give us the 3-minute sort of backstory of how you guys got into this? Because I think it's pretty interesting from the little stuff that I've read about you.
Yeah, we've both had very different journeys. And for me, it's been a process of letting go of an old identity. I grew up wanting to be an All Black, growing up in New Zealand, and becoming a professional rugby player was always the dream. And once I finally made it to be a professional rugby player, I realised this isn't really what I thought it would be, what I wanted. And because I'd spent my entire life working towards this, I couldn't let go of it. I had no other option. And the more I stayed there and continued trying to do this as a pro rugby player, the more it lowered my vibration, the more it impacted me on a negative level. And I ended up getting really sick, and I was in a coma. I had bacterial meningitis, an infection of the brain. Wow. And for me, it's been a process of letting go of that identity and coming back to my heart space and allowing that to direct my journey. And we've found that the breathwork is a really great way of altering our state of consciousness so we can meditate and we can drop into that inner guidance a lot easier.
That's amazing. I love that. There's so much that I want to ask you about, but maybe I might just get Ryan to just tell us his little backstory as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So, my story is a little bit different. I was your stereotypical country boy. I grew up on a farm, chasing sheep around, driving tractors, and I was in this, I guess, scene for a wee while, and I decided I wanted to do something different. So I went into the city, and I started being that party goer and hectic, crazy party life, drinking, all of the above. And I always felt this disconnection to myself and with my inner love. And I was looking for this validation or love in other things such as social media and partying and boozing up. And the more I did this, the more toxicity I added, the more I ignored my heart and my soul, the more it became more external on my body. And I started having these little nudges, I guess, from the university, you'd call them, but I was continuing to ignore these things, that I wasn't going in the right direction. And the more I ignored these, the more physical and the more abrupt they become, to the point where I started having panic attacks. And when I had these panic attacks, this is when I physically had that stop, start listening, start going inward here, and start looking in here instead of out here. And from then on, I did the same thing. I started learning how to better myself and to better understand myself. And these people and these speakers would always come back to having a meditation practice, just as Rory found out. And the more I tried to do this meditation, the more I got frustrated and couldn't do it. And when I found the breath work, I had that physical alteration in the brain frequency, as Rory just stated, and had that physical change and that physical slow down. And I had this sense of love. And as soon as I had this sense of love and stillness, I was addicted. And it's funny, we're talking about addiction here, but I was addicted to that feeling of love. And I realized that I could do this without these external things, such as external validation, drinking, partying, filling up this void with other people. I had it all within me. And then it was just this domino effect into exploring that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And I must say, this stuff is like, I love what you guys are calling your business that you told me just before we were on air, which is cool to be conscious. Because so for me, when I moved into like recovery, exactly like what you guys are saying, I sort of just came from a different world. It was very much like sport, and then it was very much using drugs, where, you know, you definitely sort of don't like talk about your feelings when you're using drugs to anybody. So to kind of come into this space where I was then having to, have these foreign concepts like meditation and all that stuff taught to me, it was so like kind of strange and foreign to me. And I wish there probably was, and I just wasn't searching, but I wish there was guys like you kind of out there that, you know, if you don't mind me saying, a bit of man love, you know, like look cool, good looking roosters. You know, it's when you guys speak, it's like you've just had a joint or something. You're so like relaxed. You know what I mean? Like it, and I reckon that's where it's really cool what you're doing, and that's where some of these shifts are going to happen, is because you're going to be able to like bring some of the people that I guess aren't sort of naturally inclined to that spiritual stuff and to connect to themselves more into that space. So, you know, both of you guys just kind of mentioned there that you had this like intuitive feeling that you weren't connecting to yourself and all that sort of stuff when you were going through all these experiences. Did you always have an interest in kind of spirituality or something more, or going within? Like, how did you come across all of this stuff and get involved in it?
Yeah, like for me, I was the classic rugby player, the sort of hyper masculine, fucking hippies, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I started. For me, I started listening to podcasts. I was working on a golf course after I had the rugby stint over in Scotland, and I was like, I started listening to like people who are doing amazing things in the world, and they're creating change, and they're just doing awesome stuff. And they all talked about having some sort of meditation practice. And I was like, well, hang on, why are they all talking about this? So I started learning a little bit more about it. And then, like Ryan was saying before, I tried to sit down and do the classic, circle hands and trying to cross the legs where I couldn't even get down in a squat. And I was like, I'm wasting my time here. But then a guy called Wim Hof, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
But he is an incredible human being. He's done amazing things like climb Mount Everest in shorts. And he uses like ice. And it was a real sort of like, go out there and go do something, and it's a real actionable thing you could do, a challenge. And that's that was a background that I always came from, like, how can I challenge myself? So I started learning more about him, and he had this breathwork practice called the Wim Hof method. And I tried that, and my whole body just shifted. It started vibrating. It just slowed the noise down from here and brought me into here. And I was just like this explosion of love throughout the body. And for the first time, I had no noise. No, that voice, oh, you got to do this. You're not good enough. You're not blah, blah, blah. And it was just quiet. And it brought me to that place of what's really important. And from there, I was like, okay, breath work. They all talk about meditation. Let's try and combine the two. And I went to a breathwork workshop in Sydney. This was only 8 months ago. So this journey's been really rapid. 8 months ago, and I went and we breathed for an hour, this conscious connected breath. So it's fully in through the mouth, out through the mouth. And it takes a little bit of work. That's why it's called breath work. However, the guy that was running it, he was talking about like guides and spirits and all this stuff, and still at the time I was like, shut up, just let me try this and see what happens. And all of the things that they were talking about came to me, and it was just this beautiful connection with a part of me, that spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it, the divine, the quantum, God, whatever it is for you. I felt that connection so deep and pure. And from that moment, it's been this journey of how can I spread this message to everyone, to as many people as I can, because it just transformed my life in that day. I was like, this breath, this power from breath work is incredible, and we all have access to it. It's free all the time. And so that's what we've been on this journey of doing. Ryan's been building a community in New Zealand. I've been building a community here in Australia. I'm like, well, we've got to combine forces somehow. Do I go to New Zealand first, or do you come here? And it just so happened to be Ryan came here, and we're just beginning, but it's the start of a beautiful journey.
Love that. And what about you, Ryan? Like, how did you start to get introduced to these practices? Did you have a natural kind of mosquito to the blue light moment with all this spiritual stuff, or was it a bit of a challenge as well?
Yeah, to begin with, it was very similar to Rue. It was forced upon me to stop and to look inward. My body was starting to react. Like, I've got an analogy. The more we ignore the internal issues, the more it manifests external. And the external thing was the stopping of my body, the panic attacks. And when I started to slow down and actually sit with myself, I started to realize there were many issues beneath that I hadn't been addressing, that I was suppressing and throwing over my shoulder. And the way I was going around these issues was partying, was drinking, was doing drugs, sleeping with women. These were all comforting mechanisms for me to run away from my own mind. And as soon as I started to slow down and do the breath work, I had all of these things resurface. Wow. All of this trauma, all of this emotion that I was throwing over being a man, not showing anything. All of these things started to arise, and I realized, wow, these have been holding me back for so long, and I haven't been being my true self. And to become my true self, I need to address these. I need to feel them. I need to understand where they're coming from. I need to understand where I've grown from in order to move past them, to set myself free from myself, my past self, to become more present in this moment here. So it was a job. It was a process. It was learning to unlearn everything about myself.
Yeah.
And this is what's connected me now with this more spiritual stuff, because I've had this physical sensation, is what Rory was describing, this vibration. As an electrical being, we are this vibration of love through the breath. You cannot unfeel it. It's a power, it's a force, it's a light force from within that we all have, and using the breath to raise that up is the power here. And as Roy said, we're just so passionate about giving this wisdom and this tool to everybody we can, because that's all we really want to do on this earth now is raise the collective vibration with this breath and with this love and with this message.
I love that, mate. I love that. And there's so much that I want to ask you guys, because I really relate to it in terms of the background. And yeah, for me, it's taken me a lot longer to kind of unwind the stuff in my own head about, like, yeah, like what you guys said about like what a man is and the societal narratives and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, like, so what do you guys think is kind of, if we're talking about men in particular, what do you guys think is wrong with that stereotype? And I guess the question that I want to ask you guys is, for anyone watching this that, you know, does kind of carry that typical sort of alpha male image, or that's just like within their personality, because that's what I can see in you guys. It's really cool. You know, you guys aren't, you know, or maybe not yet, or maybe you do, but you're not like down in Nimbin with like the pants and no shirt, dancing with incense. You know what I mean? Like it still seems like you guys are kind of living, you know, that normal life, but just really like connected to yourselves and in that spiritual realm. So yeah, I'm just interested to hear your perspective on that. And for anyone watching, feel free to drop in your comments, questions about your experiences with the stuff that the guys are talking about. So yeah, fire away. That was a big, long, convoluted question, but I'm just interested to hear your thoughts. Yeah,
great question. And this is a big one, because during my journey of understanding spirituality and becoming more spiritually connected, I went through a phase of the stereotypical hippie or the spiritual person. I went through this, and I had a phase of going, wow, I could literally live in a bush, and I could shut off from everyone and everything. I am so happy within myself and so comfortable within my own body that I could do that. I could do the stereotypical hippie thing. But then I come to realize that I need to spread my wisdom and my understandings and my knowledge to as many people as I can. And to do that, I need to be approachable, and I need to look approachable and look educated.
Yeah.
To grasp people, I guess, and gain their attention. And to be able to impact more people, we need to be able to be seen and be heard. And by using these platforms and using our workshops, we can do that.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's how it is. You go through this. I went through that phase of, wow, I could just wear nothing and connect to this tree for 12 hours a day. I went through that, but then I realized I had a bigger purpose on this planet, and it was to raise and help and assist others to get to where I am through what we do.
Yeah. So, Rue, like, I know you guys obviously would help people that are kind of seeking it and looking or somewhat open to it. But have you found pushback from maybe some old friends and connections and, you know, all that stuff?
Yeah, man, 100%.
Both of us.
But that is like, so you get that classic saying, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, or the other way around. The 5 people around you are a reflection of who you are. And so what is beautiful about what we do and what we're looking to live by is following our heart, following that inner guidance, and wherever it guides us, just trusting that and speaking that. And yes, you may lose friends, or friends may not resonate with it, and there may be people that do resonate with it, but it doesn't really matter what other people want from you or expect of you. It feels right within when you make that decision, and that's the most important thing. And going back to that question before, like resonating with other people, like for me, is how do I show someone where I was at a year and a half ago that this stuff is so fucking powerful, and you don't have to be that hippie running off in the bush. And that's what we've been very conscious of. How do we make it cool to be conscious? And that's what we're trying to embody and show people that you don't have to, like we've got incense going, but you don't have to be wearing the pants and having, all the stereotypical stuff. It can be a very normal human being that is spiritually connected. And the other thing about that is I always needed the evidence. I was always a very analytical mind. I needed the science. And that's what I dived into to begin with. Like when I started hearing about meditation, I was like, okay, a lot of people are talking about this. What's actually going on? And that's been a big part of what we do, is helping people understand and educating what's going on with the brain and the body on a physiological level. How is our brain upregulating? How is our immune system upregulating when we do these practices? How is our brainwave state lowered? All these different things are bringing the science and the evidence, which is the language of today, to the people that may need that. Yes, there's some people that you'll just tell them all the spiritual things or the feelings, and they'll understand it, they'll trust it, they'll believe it. But people like myself, a year and a half ago, I needed the evidence, I needed the science, what's actually going on. And so that's what we're doing as well.
Nah, it's super cool, and it's funny, like it is in the same realm, but it's exactly the same actually in the recovery space. I think for a long time it's kind of been dominated by which all the stuff, all the foundational things within that are true, that they teach, but I guess some of like the old school language that comes with it, and some of the infrastructure behind it in terms of like the institutions and stuff, it just freaks people out, you know what I mean? And they just can't connect with it, so it is interesting to hear you guys talk about, I don't want to pigeonhole it or label it or anything, but that like wellness, consciousness kind of movement happening, and how you guys have actually like consciously thought about that and incorporated it into what you do. So what is it that you actually do? Can you sort of tell everyone? Because I think it's really cool and really interesting. Again, as I said, I wish I was down at Broadbeach there so I could like come down and, sit on the sand with you.
Yeah, well, what we're basically doing here is we're bringing people together, and we're creating a space to connect with others. And the way we create that is by getting one another to connect. And we're connecting from the heart. We're not connecting from the mind. So we give them questions or statements to share with one another. And this creates an organic, authentic connection within 3 to 5 minutes. And you can just see it unfold in front of us. And then what we do is we take them through a very simple breathing practice. And this here, again, is what Rory was saying, is it alters our brainwave state. And it allows them to be still, meditate. It's like a meditative state physically. Then from there, we'll roll them through a guided meditation that Rory and I will lead. It gets them to feel this meditation on a much deeper level than they may have felt when they're just trying to meditate by sitting still, because we're altering that state of being.
So interesting. And can you just explain to everyone, because I've heard you talk about that a few times while we've been talking, the brainwave stuff and the vibration and the energy, and you kind of mentioned some of the science behind that. I'd love to hear you guys just kind of explain it and sort of demystify it a little bit. Like, what do you mean by that, where raising your vibration, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so
just an easy one for you.
Yeah, so basically through brain scans and CAT scans, there's this guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, and there's this institute called the Heart Math Institute. And what he's been able to do is show on scans how we have what's called a beta brainwave. So we've got beta, are we on the screen? Beta, alpha, theta, gamma. And our analytical mind, our frontal lobe, it's active in our beta brainwave. And so when we're thinking, when we're trying to get things done, all the noise in the head, that's from our beta brainwave. And what we do through the breath massages the brain, as the breath that we teach massages the brain, and it also alters our blood. It lowers the carbon dioxide, slightly raises the oxygen. and it lowers the brainwave frequency from a high beta brainwave, which is where all the thoughts are running around, and it slows it down to a low beta alpha brainwave. And the alpha brainwave is in coherence with the heart. And there's actually more signals that go from our heart to our brain than from our brain to our heart. So if we can slow this brainwave frequency down and become in more coherence with our heart, it's clearer and easier to hear that inner guidance, that intuition, the heart speak to you, that feeling inside. And it's also a great way of understanding and tapping into our subconscious mind. So our subconscious mind is where 95% of our life takes action from. So all the past events from our life, may be little emotional events or highly emotional events. They are stored in our subconscious mind. We're not consciously aware of them all the time, but they help us make decisions. But they make us help decisions to keep us to help us survive. So this has been designed through our evolution to help us survive. But we no longer really need this to survive. And what these end up doing, like a lot of these subconscious patterns that we've got running in the back of our mind, is they're actually limiting us on our true potential, on the person that we can really become, because they put us in a fear state instead of allowing us to go and explore and try new things and go and talk to that person that you want to talk to. So what we do with the meditation is we start to rewire the subconscious mind through a lot of different processes, and there's a lot of different methods that we use to do this, but it's a rewiring of the subconscious mind to allow you to be more limitless and let go of a lot of these limiting beliefs and fears.
I love that. And again, this is the reason why I wanted to have you guys on, because that's so connected to what you're actually doing in the process of recovery from addictions or whatever it is, so yeah, it's super interesting. So like, how can people get into this if they don't have access to you guys up there in Queensland? Like, what can they do, simple stuff, to get them involved in this? And we've got a few people watching now, so anyone watching, if you have any questions for the boys, or want to put any thoughts in about consciousness and stuff, drop them in. But yeah, how can people get involved in this stuff?
Yeah, I guess we're actually in the middle of creating an online website where people can dive on and access a few tools that we'll be sharing. But at the moment, our Instagram pages, we drop a few tools on there every now and then. But they do for now.
Yeah, we're definitely getting online very, very soon. I've got a few like breathing exercises from a little while ago, but we've got a lot of new things coming. For the meantime, I would literally, this is what I did. I went onto YouTube and I typed in Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, and he's got some amazing stuff. Like he's got a team of scientists working with him. He's a neuroscientist, and he's doing amazing things in the world, and he's the one that's bringing a lot of the science to what's going on, and that's what I needed. That's why I really resonated with him. And he structures meditations in a very specific way to allow people to feel that love within and let go of a lot of these distractions, which can also be called addictions. It's literally a distraction of that true self, because we're very scared to follow that, because it can be very scary in our analytical mind.
100%. So how, like, when you go through these processes and you do this breath work with people, and these limiting, as you said, Ryan, these limiting beliefs come up, how did you then actually work through them? Is that then just like a natural process that happens through the meditation and the breath work and all that stuff, or do you actually, like, do you go and do counseling, or you get like a coach, or like, what do you actually do to unwire all that stuff once it comes up and it comes to the surface. And sorry, everyone, my bathroom's getting done. I'm in the park. There's helicopters going over. It's annoying. Sorry.
Great question. And every single person's breath journey is going to be completely different according to what they're holding on to or what needs to come through from the subconscious in order to move forward. For me, it was a matter of listening and then feeling that emotion or that message come through in order to let it go and to move forward with it. So, for example, when I was in high school, my teacher told me that I would never be successful. And this was running in my subconscious mind for a very long time. And I didn't realize it was running in there until I started doing breath work, and I had it come through. And the way it came through was like a memory. And I remembered it as if it would just happen again. So I can remember her voice, the way she looked at me when she told me that. And for me to work through that and to let that go, I had to forgive her for telling me that, because I am worth success and I'm worthy of becoming successful. So for so long, I didn't think I was worthy of becoming successful because she told me that.
Yeah.
And then I had to forgive myself for holding on to that for so long. And then once I had understood that and forgiven her and forgiven myself, I let that go.
Yeah. Such a strange process, isn't it? Like, you know, I must confess, I actually did a post about it the other day. Like I was saying, or I think it was this morning, maybe, I don't know. I get confused with all of them. But yeah, the last like 2 weeks, for anyone listening, I found this app that's just been unbelievable, because as I was saying to you guys, I've always kind of been like, I've done meditation for years now, but I don't think I've really kind of like given into it and, you know, really sort of let go of like the old belief systems that I had around all of that stuff and me and all these sorts of things. And I found this app called Mind Valley, and some of them are a bit of like, some of them are trippers, but some of it is like really good, and it just connected with me so much. And I've been going like super deep into meditation, been trying to do some of like the breathwork stuff and all of that. And I've had these, it's hard to explain to people, but throughout my whole journey of trying to change me, there's always like these different layers that I've found of like letting go. And there's just been this, and I don't exactly know how it happens, but there's just been this deeper level of kind of letting go that's happened for me, where I just, like you guys said at the start, it's so weird. Like, I just don't care as much about all this other stuff that I used to care about. And you know, it's so freeing, and like happiness is there, and it's really cool. So the question I want to ask you though is, because I'm the converted, like, where does it go to the point, like, where's the line with it? You know, I know that's probably a hard question to answer, but where do you go from like doing what you guys are doing and helping people to connect to themselves to, all right, well, this guy's like telling me that I have like magic powers and stuff. And I don't know what you guys believe or whatever, but how do you kind of instruct people on how to just, you know, find what is right for them? Is it just a matter of diving in and trying it?
Yeah. So could you just, what are you trying to get out there? Like what would we say? Yeah.
Like, so how would you instruct people that are curious and interested in this? Because I guess it's something that I've noticed with the space that you guys are in, is that you kind of start off at this point where it makes sense, and then you can get really far down the rabbit hole where, you know, I don't know, people are, like, you end up in a cult or something, you know what I mean? Like, how do people like decipher that journey and tell like what is real? Is it about reading the science, or like what can people do to kind of keep themselves safe, I guess?
I guess it is up to the individual, like what resonates with them, and if they stay true and honest with what that is, I think it will lead them in the right path. Like, we haven't gone down, the whole plant medicine route or anything like that. And what we've heard from people that have is the power of the breath is like doing any of these, like ayahuascas and marijuanas and all this type of thing. Because of that, you're in a completely altered state of consciousness. It is not this. It is not this. And that's how powerful it is, just through simply breathing. We've all got access to it. So it's really interesting to know that. So what we believe is we are limitless beyond belief. Every single person, every single one watching, like no matter what stage you are at, you are so fucking powerful, and you don't need anything. You don't need anything apart from to be able to breathe. And that's what we are so passionate about, is we don't need these external things to make ourselves whole and powerful. So that's a big part of our message, is less is more, I guess.
Yeah. So interesting. No, I love it. And I know it's a bit of a weird question, but you kind of touched on like what I want to get to with it, is because that's what I see with this stuff, is that people can actually make it like a religion, if you like, and lose the point of what they're actually trying to do without sort of realizing it. They get so hung up on doing the practice right or doing it a certain way or whatever, and they kind of lose the concept of what you're actually trying to do, which is, connect with yourself and, as you guys are saying, be more conscious and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, super interesting. So where are you guys at now in terms of your belief systems? Like, do you kind of feel yourselves going deeper and deeper into the spiritual path, or, are you kind of, for the moment, satisfied with the breath work? Do you want to go further with like the consciousness experiments?
Yeah, this is a great question. So firstly, what I've been able to access and tap into since letting go of all of my internal baggage and my internal blockages throughout my chakra systems of the body, I've been able to become so sensitive to everything and everything that it almost feels like I'm on drugs.
Yeah.
I've now realized I can feel people's energy. I can feel the energy within nature, the plants, Lily behind me here.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is really cool, and we've all got access to this. We're all the same. We've just got our own internal baggage going on here. What's that? Blockages throughout our systems, and when there's blockages, there's no flow, and the body needs to flow. And I think what you're saying here, when people get into these cults, is what they're wanting is love and connection. And when there's a blockage in the body, there's no flow. So this person might be giving lots of love, but they're not actually receiving it. And to receive it, we need to unblock. And then once you start to receive love, which I never really felt for a very long time, you have this feeling that I can't even describe. It was almost overwhelming for me to receive love. And once I started to understand why I wasn't receiving it, it all made sense. And now it comes in and out like a rotation. And when you start to have this love come in and out, you don't need anything else or anyone. You've got it all within you here. And this is what we're trying to do. People come to us that are very anxious, that are disconnected with themselves, and all we're doing is taking that armor off, taking that anxiety off, and connecting them to their true self. And once they're in that state and they have that connection, they become so empowered with themselves that I don't need us or anybody. And that's what we were trying to do here.
I love that. It's so interesting. I love hearing you talk about it, Ryan. And that's what I reckon's cool, is because it makes me it makes me want to jump on a plane and come and do the work with you and have that. My first question to you is that, like, do you guys ever, like, since you've had all these experiences and you've let go of all this stuff, like, do you ever get angry anymore, or like upset, or like, are you just constantly kind of blissed out, or like, how does it go?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit. Yeah, it's a great question because people say once you're enlightened or once you're conscious, the world's a breeze, but it's not. It's actually nearly the opposite. As you said, where I've become a lot more sensitive now. So I feel things much deeply, but I can understand where they're coming from, and I can let them flow through my body instead of latching onto them and thinking it's me. That's the way I am. It's not. It's just an emotion coming through, and it means I'm human. And I'm reactive to my surroundings and my experiences. But because I'm aware of that and I understand those things, I can let them go a lot faster. So I'll feel them, I'll embrace it, and then I'll let it go.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Are you the same, Roo? Does it you know?
Yeah,
does it,
it's when you're feeling that resistance or that anger or that whatever that feeling is, and you may not want it. It's one of those more heavy or negative emotions.
Yeah.
The first thing I ask is, why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
Because there's always an answer. There's something that's happened in your past to trigger you to feel that way. Otherwise, it would be this breeze. And the more aware and the more conscious you can become of those feelings and those emotions, and just asking that simple question, why do I feel angry when someone does something that I don't like? Why don't like what's happened in my past for me to cause that emotional reaction?
Yeah. So interesting. So can you just talk a little bit about like how have your relationships and stuff like that improved in your life, and like, so what does your life actually kind of look like now? Both of you guys, because for anyone that missed it, as we were talking about earlier, you guys come from that sort of stereotypical masculine male background. What does it look like now, and what have, like, you talked a lot about what's happened for you guys, which is so cool, but how has that impacted everyone else around you?
Yeah, great question. So basically, the way we show up now is truthfully, open, and from love. And what I'm saying here is when we interact with people, we're completely honest with them. We're open to receive whatever they want to tell us. And we're coming from a place of love instead of judgment. And we're always listening to understand somebody. We're not listening to reply. When we're listening to understand, it's about us. When we're listening to understand, it's about them. When we're listening to reply, it's about us. So we're wanting to understand people on a much deeper level. And when we can create that safe space, the connection becomes so much more deeper and connected instantly. So they see that vulnerability and they see that openness to listen to them, and it creates a much more connected relationship where this connection is going to be 5 minutes, whether it's going to be 3 months. It doesn't matter because you're exchanging energy here, and they're getting a lot more from us, just as we're getting from them. Like we're learning from everybody we interact with, and I've made that now my job is to learn something from every single interaction I encounter. What's this person going to teach me? What am I going to learn from this person? And when we're showing from a place of love, always the connection is going to be amazing every single time.
Yeah, unbelievable.
On that, like the people that are now in our lives, it's just different because we're different people. Every 6 months, every cell in our body has transformed. So we're essentially a different human being than we were 6 months ago. And when you decide to become someone different and stick with that, it's incredible what can manifest into your reality and come into your life. Like it's incredible the people that we're surrounded with now. Like from a year and a half ago, it was just a couple of footy mates and a close family, and that was about it. And now we're surrounded by $1 million business owners, like incredible speakers. There's a lady that speaks on stage with Tony Robbins helping us out. Like this kind of stuff. It's because we've decided to be different people, and that different vibration attracts that vibration into our reality. Rather than waiting for them to come, we transformed who we were to bring those other people into our life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, and you said that you've only kind of really been on this journey for 8 months, and all this has already unfolded in that time. Is that right?
Yeah, and Brian's has been even less. I've probably been a little bit more than 8 months now. It's been a very short period of time though.
It was the 4th of January 2019 when I decided 2020 when I decided to stop drinking alcohol, and I would go inward with myself. And from there, yes, it's been a process of letting go of connections that no longer were serving me in a positive way. All of my friends that I was resonating with would like to gas up, piss up, do drugs, talk about girls, talk about egotistical conversations. And now none of that serves me and feels right for me at this time now. So it's a matter of I went through this transforming kind of paradox of I don't need anyone or anything. This is when I went into my hippie phase. I don't need anyone. I'm pure. I lived in a van. I don't need anyone. Fuck you all. And then now, because my vibration has risen and I just love everything and everyone, the most amazing people have just shown up in my life. And these connections have depths, have shallows, have all of the above, and we can just dance together in this life.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, sorry, I know you mentioned it before, but again, we kind of have people dropping in and out. And again, if anyone's watching, you guys are just getting love in the comments. Love these guys. They look awesome. All this stuff. So,
thank you.
But what was that process like? Was there like a moment for you, Ryan, that you know, helped you to stop that drinking, or was it something in particular, or just a lot of little things, or what was it that made you pull up?
Yeah, the reason why I stopped drinking was because I knew that it didn't serve me, and I knew my body didn't like it. I was getting tonsillitis at least once a month in 2019, to the point where I got them removed. And this was my body telling me to stop what you're doing. And I ignored it. And I ignored it to the point where I had to get these tonsils removed. And at the start of 2019 was when I started having panic attacks. And from then on, I knew that I needed to absolutely can it. So from that day, January 4th, I stopped drinking. And then, it was definitely a process of my friends judging me, my family judging me, friend groups judging me for stopping drinking. And it was a process of definitely mourning. And I took it personally for a very long time until I got over that fear of judgment from others. And that's when I really started doing the inner work with the breathwork and meditation. And I understood where it was coming from. It was coming from an insecure place within themselves. Because they deep down probably wanted to do the same thing, but they were in the same state as I was. I was afraid of the judgment. And that's what's holding a lot of people back. Is that they want to be connected. They want to be in this friend group. They want to be involved. And to move forward, you have to go through this process of loneliness and solitude to grow. And then when you start to flourish, your friends will see that. And it's amazing because now they're coming back to us wanting to be a part of it and they want to learn. And we're raising them up with us, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's super hard. Like, I've found it hard to get to that place, but when you do, it's pretty special. When you just, when you realize that a lot of people's kind of actions and stuff, they're really just reflecting it in the mirror, you know, and bouncing it into you, when it's really just kind of what's going on for them. But you're right. It is hard to get there, but once you do, it's pretty special. So for both of you guys, you know, I know you talked a little bit about it before, like, with family and stuff like that, like, are they now accepting and you know, almost involved in what you're doing, like what you just said there?
Yeah, well, for me, it's a still ongoing process. My stepdad is a very stereotypical bloke. He is very disconnected with this whole realm, and he doesn't understand. He's a very logical man. So for him, he's still very, he gives me a lot of stick. But my mum, on the other hand, has trusted and given these practices a go. And for
Yeah.
her, it's huge. I've been watching my mum's growth over the past 4 months, and it's been absolutely amazing. She's
Wow.
becoming a lot more aware of everything that's going on in her life and why. And she's also coming to terms with her childhood traumas, and she's understanding those and letting them go. And she's feeling so much lighter as a being, which is just beautiful to witness. And my little brothers and sisters are my number one fans. They've always been supportive. So it's awesome for them to see what I'm doing now on a bigger platform, and they're incorporating it as well. They're telling their friends at school, and they're all giving breathwork practices a go, and it's awesome to see that, because I think that's going to be the next thing. It's going to be bringing this breathwork and the meditation work into schools, starting everybody young, from a young age.
Yeah. Have you seen, Roo, like people just on that, like have you seen people take this breath work into like the rugby space yet? Like I reckon that would be a cool thing for you guys to do.
Yeah, like for me, growing up in New Zealand, All Black was the dream for 22, 23 years of my life, and I'm only 25 now. So yeah, that's a goal of mine to take the All Blacks through something like this. And yes, to answer your question, yes, it is starting to come into the sporting side of things, and that's where that science side comes. What we do is a more connecting sort of spiritual side, I guess you'd call it, of breathing, but there's also a performance side of breathing, which we're learning a lot more about at the moment, and how we can serve sporting teams and athletes, because I know I would have really enjoyed this. There's a guy called Patrick McEwen who's done a lot of research on this and works with Olympic level athletes, and how it's just incredible how we can alter our breathing to increase our performance and our recovery. And that stuff is just coming to the forefront of the high performance at the moment, and we're trying to stay up to date with that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, so when I was growing up, I was into basketball, and I didn't know that when I was younger. But the famous Michael Jordan's famous coach Phil Jackson, used to have him meditate. Like, he was a hippie from the 60s and 70s, and he used to have all the Chicago Bulls like meditating before games and practices and stuff, all the way back then. And then here now, I noticed in the last kind of couple of years, because I'm in Melbourne, so we're AFL freaks down here, and my team Richmond, you might have heard of him, but maybe not. Dustin Martin, who's probably the best player in the league at the moment, he came out after we won the flag in 2017 and kind of talked about how he started doing meditation that year. And now on the field, I don't know if they do this in like the rugby, now on the field before games, most teams are doing like this, they're like closing their eyes and doing this breathing thing before the quarter starts, So it's cool. It's really cool to see. And yeah, I would love to see you guys be able to bring that, that kind of spiritual aspect into it as well, because I think that's the real juice, isn't it? That's where the magic kind of happens. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So look, dudes, I appreciate it so much. It's, some people, for some people, this will be like their favorite podcast out of everything that we've done. For other people, they'll be like, what the fuck? But they'll come back eventually. No, but it's just awesome to talk to you guys about it. And really, I kind of see you guys as experts in it, because it's like the way that you guys articulate it. That's exactly what you're kind of forced to do when you hit the pointy end of addiction, or even if you manage to do it, like you said, Ryan. I don't know how intense it was, the drinking and the partying, but yeah, like even if it's not at that full-blown level of addiction, like that's the process that you actually go through in recovery when you're trying to change. You actually becoming more conscious of yourself and your belief systems and all that. So no, I really appreciate it, you guys coming on. So just again, where can people find you if they want to get in touch and find out about your work? I assume you guys are from Queensland, but I assume you probably go down to like Byron and stuff like that as well. I don't know. Borders are closed, aren't they?
It's funny, like the plan was to travel Australia, but we've just really established ourselves here on the Gold Coast, and things are starting to take off. So we'll probably be here a while, but we're definitely going to be going down to Sydney as soon as we can, and potentially Melbourne after that.
Awesome. Well, as soon as
oh, sorry, I was just going to say.
Oh, sorry, mate. Go.
In terms of the best way, the best platforms to follow us on is definitely Instagram at the moment, and we've got Facebook as well. But Instagram, I'm RU_conscious, and then it's at Ryan Hubbards. But yeah, we'll be starting a business one too very soon called Cool to Be Conscious. So
love it. That's
what's happening.
And yeah, like as soon as you come down here to Melbourne, just hit me up because we'll get a crowd down. The beaches aren't as nice on the Gold Coast, but there's still some sand. Awesome, guys. Hey, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for letting us tune in, and it was a pleasure to share some wisdom and some stories. And yeah, look forward to the next one, and hope you all got something out of it. And big love.
Yeah, no, likewise. Really appreciate it, brother, and having us on. And yeah, some amazing questions. And if there was one little thing someone could take away, that's amazing. Yeah, much love. Look forward to meeting you in person one day.
100%. It won't be long. I travel a lot for work, so I'm sure I'll see you when they let us fly on the plane again. Awesome. See you guys.
Much love.
Brother. Big love.